All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a chilly Saturday evening, even in the great state of Florida. I don't know that I want to say the great state of Florida, but even in the Sunshine State, where the bomb-ass hemp does not be, because that's the other Sunshine State, it's cold, Chris. It feels like 28 right now. That was not part of the brochure when we moved down here. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a legit 20 or whatever it is during the daytime here in the greater Philadelphia area. And I think going to drop back down to single digits again tonight. So it has not been a good time. Like my house, I know, and I've known from, just it being somewhat cold that we don't have the best insulation here since we moved here a couple of years ago. And then when it's this cold out, you really feel it. Like the heat in the house can't get above like 65, 66, somewhere in that range. So, it's not the worst temperatures. It always could be worse. But like, my God, Emac, just the little inconvenience as you get older. Just like, I'm done with it. I'm absolutely done with it.
Yeah, it was funny because 2 days ago I was walking in short sleeve shirts in the afternoon. It was like 68, 70 degrees. Now people are putting little covers over because everything's above ground for our backflows and our sprinklers here because it's not that big of a deal. But now everybody's covering them. So we're rolling the dice. We're not covering them. So we shall see. We shall see. Hope everybody else is warm or staying warm, attempting to stay warm throughout the rest of the U.S. It's seriously cold where Chris is and in places north. So I don't feel like a kindred spirit, but I am wearing sweats, which normally I don't. I usually just wear shorts. So here we are. Here we are. Let's see. We've got a bunch of wonky news here, so we'll just hit that on the top as we collect people, and then we'll go game by game. There are just 5 games tonight. They are staggered yet condensed, so we have everything tipping off within a 90-minute period here. There is one 7 o'clock game that is Atlanta in Indianapolis. We have Vit Krejci has been ruled out. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis probably not going to play through the All-Star break, but Zachary Risache should be back, and Jalen Johnson back after a 1-game absence. In New Orleans, the Pelicans are on a back-to-back, though this is not a 3-4. They played last night against Memphis. Tonight they're up in Philly. Herb Jones is playing. Quentin Grimes is playing. Kelly Oubre is in. And the only questionable person in this game is Andre Drummond, who is dealing with an illness, non-avocado related illness. We do need to put that out there. Memphis, they are on the back-to-back. No Santi Aldama for like his 5th straight game. Jaren Jackson Jr. is unlikely to play tonight. John Conchar, unlikely to play tonight. And Ty Jerome, close to a return. His return would be a debut. And it will be the first time he has played in a Memphis uniform. So we'll have to see what happens there. I think we have him in projections. I can look. I've got the projections up on the screen. Let's take a quick peek there. Shout out to Rich, who has done a great job on the projections. He's running them today. So we have him in there for 17.3 minutes. So we're not expecting a lot from him. Chicago, no Josh Giddey, no Jalen Smith. Doubtful for Nikola Vucevic. Doubtful for Kobe White. This is the mini in-season series because of the weather delayed game. Chicago and Miami are playing each other 3 times straight. They play again tomorrow. This is in South Beach. Last game was in Chicago. For the Miami side, still no Tyler Hero, no Davion Mitchell, and then Norman Powell away from the team for personal reasons. Everybody else expected to play. And in the nightcap, the 8:30 ABC game of the week, nobody of note is injured other than the people that are already out, like Anthony Davis, people like that. What do we got here? Anything jumping out on that I missed? Anything you want to wait upon? Or I think we'll have most everything we need, it looks like, except for the Secret Saturday surprise, Chris. And there is always a Secret Saturday surprise.
All right, well, since it's Saturday, and I'll try to keep the chat from getting ornery, I will advocate on their behalf. They don't want to see Yahoo projections on the screen, Emac. They're annoyed by that. They feel like you're being deliberately obtuse showing them. So switch to DraftKings or FanDuel.
FanDuel? Does FanDuel turn anybody's engines?
I think FanDuel, those people are underserved. So I think it's fair if you go there. But no, for the slate today, I think really the interesting thing is that the Bulls gave up everybody today to the South Beach flu, with basically all the guys getting ruled out. No Giddey, no Vucevic, no Kobe White, Trey Jones still out, no Jalen Smith, even a guy that would have looked really great if he were going today. So the results is you're gonna get bulls everywhere. And they look like some of the best value we've had on slates in a while. On relative to projections, seeing 5 guys here that are at least a 7x value on paper, 8x value for one guy that we could talk about when we go game by game. So really seems like right now, number one, I mean, and that's not the only team that's had a lot of guys that are out today, kind of phoning it in on a Saturday. But definitely like going to be a slate defined by which value guys do you get right? Do you pair the right, spike players around them? Because it's going to be very obvious how the field's going to be pushing towards today.
Yeah, so we'll jump on over here. We'll filter down Atlanta to make everybody happy. Projections were updated about 15 minutes ago. I've got to give a shout out here to Screaming Eagle 101. You guys might know him over there on Twitter as Timothy Beecher. He took down the $2.22 pick and roll last night. That is the FanDuel 25 max featured contest, and it was $1,000 prize. I was in the lead for a minute, but I did not have anybody from the Golden State Detroit game, which ended up having a lot of points. So I won on all 3 sites last night, Chris, but currently winnings turned into profit instead of an F yeah night. But it was fun nonetheless to win on all 3. So how did your Luka night go? You were all over that on the yesterday's live before lock.
Yeah, definitely didn't hurt to have him in about half my lineups, but it's still one of those things where you definitely had to get a lot right around that as always. And I feel like Dennis Schroeder in particular was like the big anath in my lineups. There were a lot of flames around Luka and Dennis Schroeder being awful. I think he shot 1 for 11 in the final box score there. So not the Dennis Schroeder's got a lot of revenge games that he has available in the league right now, but the Celtics one, not the best one for him. But I still feel like EMAC for you, like if you have a profit, that's always good. But to me, like at this point with the NBA DFS, if you're getting back, half your money at least, I feel like, all right, cool. We're alive to fight another day at that point. That's honestly the best attitude to have for NBA DFS. With a war of trading pain, it could be night to night.
Yeah. Oh, and shout out. I was messaging him earlier. I see they're in chat. Ship my money, Adam Scherer. He's been on a bit of a heater over the last 2 weeks. He took down first and second. I forget. It must have been like the $5 or the $8 last night to continue his winning streak. So
it was a night slate because he said he was out to dinner, so he didn't get to play the main slate, but he won the night slate. But he's been killing it. Really impressive to see. And I know he's been working hard on his own stuff over there at Run the Sims. I don't know if don't get me in trouble if I'm not allowed to say the name, but he's been doing good work over there. Obviously, room for lots of people to have success in the space, and I always love Ship. So glad to see him doing well.
Yeah. I was messaging because the last time we went on a super duper heater, COVID came around. So
yeah. So the things are falling apart in different ways. The Epstein files getting released and all that. We're not going to talk about it here, but there's always something to go hand in hand. The butterfly effect of Adam Scherer winning money.
Indeed. He still has the best strip club story, but we'll save that for another time. We have 1,100 people here watching, so please do hit that like button. That would be fantabulous. Take us through Atlanta here. They're in Indiana, 233.5 projected point total. Most of the games are right around that range, with the exception of Dallas and Houston, which is about 10 points less. What do you like from Atlanta?
I mean, I love Jalen Johnson here. I feel like the rates that he has when you do take the centers off the court, and this point, you have no Okongwu, no Porzingis. You'll have that for, I guess, at least this game, maybe one more game after this. For Jalen Johnson, he's put up 1.6 DK points per minute on 32% usage, 15% rebound rate, 40% assist rate. So really just outlandish numbers for Jalen Johnson. And the fact we're facing Indiana doesn't hurt either with their, sometimes playing with no centers at all. Jay Huff, I guess, back in the mix a little bit again. But, it's a spot where they certainly aren't going to be a team I'm worried about Jalen Johnson hitting his upside. The field's at 31%. I think that for everything looks, for Jalen Johnson, I could see getting him in half my lineups and not feeling too bad about it. Obviously, at that point, you lose some swappability. So Eric Lindquist would have to cover his ears if you were listening somewhere at home. But I think for how it looks for Jalen Johnson, I want to be above the field there. I'm willing to lose the flexibility as the slate opens up because I don't think there's anything that's going to be that great later on. And for Jalen Johnson, I think he might be a slate breaker with him being the first guy up for Atlanta.
Yeah, and kind of the funny thing. So he's missed 5 games, if I remember correctly. This was the first one in quite some time. It could be just, a little bit of the wear and tear of the season, carrying the extended load. But I went back and I know we don't like to look at game logs, but he hadn't cleared 50 fantasy points with any sort of regularity recently. So this could be a nice little get right spot for him, maybe a little pep in his step, having a little bit of time off there. Oh, wow. We got a $50 super chat here from Tear Ducks University. Says, thanks to EMAC and Josh for the advice. He took down the monster because of it. And the tools. Cheers to you all. So yeah, he reached out to us on Twitter. Josh gave him a good answer. I had no notes to add. But yeah, he took down the monster for, I want to say it was $10,000 or maybe it was $20,000. But good job for you, Tear Ducks Juice University. You earned that. You clicked the buttons. We may have given you ideas, but you crafted that lineup and you earned it. But thank you for the super chat. I truly appreciate it. All right, let's get back to the fun here. What do you think of Dyson Daniel, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, etc., as the ranks are thinned out just a touch, perhaps a CJ McCollum off the bench?
Yeah, McCollum, I think the toughest to get to out of those guards. I got him at about 2% of lineups, Fields at 5. Just think the projection is not really there. His rates have been down a little bit since joining Atlanta. And it makes sense that, they have a lot of guards ahead of him in the rotation. I don't think he's there, long-term necessarily for the Hawks. So for McCollum, I think one of those players where if he spiked, I don't think it'd be the craziest thing in the world to get him into a few lineups, but I just don't see him being a priority. But Dyson Daniels and Alexander Walker, I think, look very similar to me. Both guys are on 35 projection for both my data. Stokastic has Alexander Walker a little bit higher at a rounded up 37. But neither guy going to be terribly highly owned. They are both theoretically leverage against Jalen Johnson being owned by about a third of the field. So I could see the logic in going there for that reason a little bit. But I think these guys aren't, to me, like screaming, as great plays like Jalen Johnson is. I think they're totally fine with their salaries, but I think there's better values to get to on the slate. Like, to me, the tier that suffers the most on the slate when we have so many good values out there, or guys are just like wildly underpriced, is the Dyson Daniels, Alexander Walker tier of guys where it's like, oh, you're 7,300, you're totally where you should be priced, but like maybe you'll hit a ceiling, but projection wise, I just don't see how you get there too often.
Yeah, and that's I like to call that the sweet spot, right? Everybody just optimizers don't quite pick them up. They don't quite make it into content, but any of those guys is capable of a 40 fantasy point night on that one. Not a lot of excitement here for DraftKings on the Indiana side here. Andrew Nembhard is the only player with double-digit popularity. What do you want to call from the Pacers here?
I think Nembhard's the only one coming up for me here. Stokastic gave him a little bit of a minutes boost in the most recent run of data, and as a result, he's getting into about 17% of my lineups in the fields at 14. But like you mentioned, not a lot of love for the field here. Not getting a lot for myself either. Siakam, the field's at 8. I'm getting 6. Mather in the fields at 9. Getting 3. Neesmith, fields at 4. I'm getting 3. There's nothing really to note here. I guess McConnell, if you want to get weird for your value, I think I'd rather play Bulls team missing its 4 or 5 highest usage guys, but like, for the Pacers, I guess if you want to pivot, McConnell, Huff would be 2 of those guys you could get to at, not a lot of ownership, but theoretically they can be values for the ceiling. But I think the Pacers in this spot, another team where they seem like they're appropriately priced for the most part across the board, with Nembhard being maybe your one exception here. And even then, I'm not like stoked about Nembhard. I just think his salary works well with a lot of different builds that feel like they have pretty good upside.
All right. Not much else to add in on this one. So we'll continue along here. I did see there was a super chat. I'll get you was asking for cheap centers or cheap other plays. We'll kind of run through that at the bottom of the hour here because we should have a couple starting lineups probably and one last decent news dump. So we'll get that in there for you. Our 7:30 game is New Orleans at Philadelphia here. Pelicans, as I mentioned, they are on the back-to-back, but they had a couple days off before last night's game. Similarly here, Chris, only Trey Murphy III and Zion Williamson are in double-digit popularity. Not a lot else. I do want to call out the secret site. I like Sadiq Bey, $27 over there. He helped me out last night. Wasn't that long ago, Chris, that I said friends don't let friends play Sadiq Bey. Few things have changed. Herb Jones has been back in the starting lineup after missing 8 games and I think playing only once in 13 games with 2 different injuries because the poor guy just can't seem to stay healthy. But he's in the starting lineup. Jeremiah Fears is out of the starting lineup, and they're going what they call the jumbo lineup there in New Orleans. And it's been interesting. So point guards, we don't need any stinking point guards here. They just have a whole bunch of guys that are doing a decent job of passing. I'm a little worried that the music's going to stop and we're without a chair after seeing Bay go for 40 plus in each of the last 4 games. But I did want to give him a call out. I haven't run my FanDuel lineups. I'm not sure how much I'll get there or in my DK lineups, but I'm converted. I'm back. It was just a lost year for him in Washington with those injuries.
Yeah, I think for Sadiq Bey, I mean, I'm curious to see if the field, Greg and I talked about this yesterday. Actually, Greg texted me after the show when he saw that Sadiq Bey was about 31% owned or whatever he was, the big tournament on DraftKings. It was just like, Sadiq Bey was getting a ton of people asking about him in the chat yesterday. He's popped in my data the last couple slates I mentioned on yesterday's live before lock that like got him a ton that game versus OKC and was like, this is crazy. I shouldn't get Sadiq Bey 80, 90% of my lineup. So like I knocked him down to 20. Still felt really good about that. I was back with the field yesterday. Thought I'd be up on the field, but they're really enthusiastic about him. But now with the total being a little bit lower for the Pelicans at 113 implied points, Bey priced up a little bit more at 6,300. I do think he's playable. Like the field's at a rounded up 4%. I'm getting 8, but I do wonder if the field gets there a little bit too much for a guy that's producing, still just 0.96 fantasy points minute on the year. It's been great the last 4 games, but it does seem like the 40-point outliers. I'm not seeing it as much in my projections, and it has been popping up a little bit more, but certainly there's upside there for the reasons EMAC mentioned, like the lack of point guard play at this point, Poole being out of the rotation. It's just the team is flowing in a different direction overall. But guys like Bey today, not a priority for me. Zion, I didn't really get yesterday. Was really worried about that in the first half. Then he slowed down. That's kind of what the normal projection was supposed to be in the second half. Always kind of like the Pelicans is like guys you sprinkle in for a tournament. Trey Murphy today at 9%. I think that's a particularly strong play as well. But nobody above 10% for me on the Pelicans. And I think that's pretty much normal for them when they have everybody in and kind of priced more than appropriately at this point.
Yeah, those are good call outs there as well. Nothing to add. We've got another super chat here from Jay. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. $70 million man times 80. That's like 5.6 billion, I believe, somewhere around there. If I'm carrying the zeros correctly, he's just here so he doesn't get fined. I like that. That was Marshawn Lynch, right? That was beast mode.
That sounds right.
Okay, there we go. All right, I want to show you guys if you're not on Tails. Haha! Look at this. We've got tons of free content over there. I've got full breakdowns on. Look at that. Plays, wagers. I've got breakdown tournament targets here, core building blocks. These are all for free. That is over there on Tails. Over 200 contributors out there. Almost everybody is putting free content forth. Every single, like every 10 minutes and more free content pops up there. So you want to check that out. But just want to remind you guys that this is one of the fun things we have, because as we head into our Philadelphia side here, Chris, Paul George has been suspended for 25 games for substance. I don't know what the right term is. I thought it was going to be PEDs. Sounds like, the athletes never tell the truth for the most part, but sounds like it could be somewhat like a stimulant type.
Sounds like Adderall or ketamine would be my guess based on reading Reddit threads and what he put out there. But taking something that he said was related to his mental health journey. So I think could be something too, like it could be PEDs and we don't know. And he's just going, it's my mental health journey. He's just
exactly. It's neither here nor there. He's out for 25 games. But point being, if you guys need help, you have a problem, there are definitely people you can reach out to and talk to. But he's gone for 25 games. That means Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid get all the usage in all the land. This is, as I mentioned, back-to-back for the Pels. Their defense is nominal at best. So Joel Embiid is popping in our models. Maxey is setting career highs essentially across the board. You've got BJ Edgecombe, your guy Quentin Grimes, Dominic Barlow. What are you liking from the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, I think it's mostly Maxey and Embiid here. I mean, you take Paul George off the court this year, really big sample size at this point, because Paul George missed a lot of those games early on in the year. And even if a guy like Joel Embiid, he plays segmented enough from Paul George enough that he's got about 800 possessions. But Embiid's put up 1.4 DK points per minute. Tyrese Maxey's put up 1.32. Those are the guys that should be the big winners here. Nobody else in the team above 1 fantasy point per minute with him off the court besides Drummond, which, he's not even playing at this point, really. So I think those two are the ones you want to get to the most. Embiid's ownership at over 50% of the field being there on DraftKings feels a little bit much to me. I do think he's a good play. I know you go through the box scores lately. He has been looking most like the old Embiid. Put out his quote this week about he thinks the team should be pushing the chips in for the trade deadline, willing to go into the luxury tax more because he thinks they can win it all. And frankly, think he has played like they do. Like, I'm so critical of Embiid. If you watch these shows or my content on my Splash Play channel, like I've been so down on Embiid for the last 2 years, really. But now, like, I really think watching the games a decent amount, he looks like he's motivated. Obviously, the box score results have been there as well. He's not flopping as much either, which I think is nice that he's just not wasting half the possessions, kind of hawking for a call over and over again. But I do think getting to beat a little bit less, Maxey a little bit more feels right to me. Right now, I have about 40% of both. I think that looks cool. If I got Maxey at 33%, that'd be also about 2x the field. I think that'd be fine. I feel like the Embiid enthusiasm, I get it. It's just a little bit lofty for me right now, and Maxey is still right there at basically the same price tag.
Yeah, and to add on the Embiid, he has played 30, I forget what exactly it is, but basically it's kind of like 31, 32 minutes is the cutoff. 12 of his last 15 games. He's played 35.9 minutes in 3 of the last 4. Everything has come together over the last 4 games. He's got, I think 360 fantasy point or at upper 50s or better efforts there. It's all got to go perfect for him to reach that upside. His rebounds have gotten a little bit better now that he is sort of I don't know what the right word is, but embracing his latest skill set. He's not the apex predator physical specimen that he once was, but he's sort of figuring things out. He's getting some maintenance days off, but to your point, we haven't had half the BS of, he's wearing flip-flops and it's like 9 minutes before tip off and you don't know if he's playing or not. He's been pretty much going out there solidly. So I want to give him a shout out there for that. I have him on my Yahoo lineup, but I'm curious to see how much I end up getting on the other sides, because you need on Yahoo and FanDuel, you really need those blocks, and that's kind of not particularly in his weak side. Help blocks are still there, but he's not the rim protector he was 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So, did you see my power flicker? You could lose me.
Oh God, please no! I can't do any more work on a Saturday. I don't.
Well, I will if it goes down on our production meeting. If it goes down, I've got obviously a laptop, so I can get on my hotspot. I don't have the hotspot turned on right now because it's faster to be plugged into the router. But if it goes down, I'll be able to jump back on from that standpoint. Okay, so that was an awful lot on Embiid there. But anything else you want to wrap up from the Philly side?
I think people are really curious about Oubre, and I think there's like this assumption. I mean, I've seen it in my Splash Play Discord before as well. When Grimes got rolled out early in the week, with people like wanting to play Oubre more if anybody's out. I just don't see anything in the rates that's saying Oubre is a guy that we need to get to more. With Paul George off the court this year, it's been about 1,400 possessions. So over 1,000 is generally your rate should be predictable moving forward off of that. Oubre's only had an 18.6% usage rate, 6% assist rate, 0.84 DK points per minute. So really nothing special. It's just so much of the offense kind of consolidates around Maxey and Embiid, where these guys are putting up 30% usage on the year for Maxey, 34% for Embiid. Those rates with George off, we're talking about 30%, a little bit higher version of that for Maxey, 36% for Embiid. Like, I just don't think that there's a lot of room for Oubre there. Can he hit a ceiling? Sure. But I think people are going there a little bit more than they should, just on the assumption of production. And he's not that cheap at 5,200. Like, shooting guard small forward's nice, but I just think it's really, to me, Maxey and Embiid, and get those guys a good amount, but nobody else in the Sixers, even in Edgecombe. Like, I'm just not really there. Is Emac frozen? I feel like his head is tilting upwards. Oh no, he might be frozen. He might be frozen, guys. All right. Well, let's do this then. Let me share my screen. Hopefully we won't have to go solo for too long, but we'll do this as best we can here. All right. We got so many tabs open, guys. Hold on.
On the hotspot, I am back. We'll see another power
harrowing few seconds there. It was just you frozen looking up into the distance, which I did not. It gave me a heart attack.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's very, very windy here. So we hopefully this will keep us keep us going here. Anyway, sorry. Did you wrap up the Sixers?
Yeah, mostly just kind of pushing back on Oubre being a play that matters too much. But really, the key thing for me is that I think it's mostly Maxey and Embiid here. Oubre and Edgecombe, I get rolling the dice a little bit there, but just not seeing them come up as meaningful plays today.
All right, then let's keep pushing. Minnesota at Memphis. No Santi Aldama. Expectations are that Jaren Jackson and John Conchar will be out. Ty Jerome has been announced as playing. Mike Conley is in. What do you like from either side of this? I guess let's start with Minnesota just to clean it up. They are not on the back-to-back, but Memphis is.
Yeah, Minnesota, I would say not the most appealing team on today's slate. I mean, I see Ant getting 20% owned by the field. I think that's a fair amount of ownership that I'm not really getting to. My projection is about 2 fantasy points lower than what Stokastic has Anthony Edwards for. Obviously, there's a ceiling. The total for Minnesota is pretty good with the 120.5 implied points, which I think is a pretty big part of why you might be driving some of that Edwards projection. And I would get it with that total being high. Obviously, the chance for there being an outlier game for a guy like Ant against the weakened Memphis team here would not be crazy. But I really don't see much for the Minnesota side here. I got Ant at 12%, under the field's 20, rounded up. Definitely one of the guys you could spend money on with the value you'll have on the slate, but not really seeing it much for the Minnesota side, EMAC, unless you've got something that you're loving.
No, and you said the magic word there. It's where are we going to spend our money? So that's where some of these, Maxey and Embiid pop because they're 9,900 and between 9,900 and 10,400 on the across DraftKings and FanDuel. But where else are we going to spend? So Anthony Edwards becomes interesting. We kind of get the mid-tier maybe with Julius Randle, etc. But it's just it'll be interesting to see how this stuff shakes out. Let's go to the Memphis side here. Gregory Jackson, GG Jackson is jumping here as a discount dandy. We'll get to up. I'm assuming we will stick mostly with Ty Jerome around that 17.3 minutes. But these guys you can sort of feather in the lineups. Tougher matchup, though, for them. They're punching up a weight class going against the Minnesota defense. I do like Jackson. I think Cedric Coward is interesting. But again, these guys are going to kind of sprinkle across our lineups. And once we start talking about Chicago and Miami, you will understand why. Anything you want to mention for the Grizzlies?
Yeah, I mean, I think GG Jackson, who you mentioned, is probably the one that stands out the most, coming in more power flickering for EMAC. Let's pray. We got 30%.
Yeah, that one got the furnace. Furnace isn't on now. So.
All right. Well, you're suffering in Florida now. Yeah, for GG Jackson, I think the 30% that I'm getting right now feels like enough. Obviously, more minutes to go around because of having no Jaren Jackson out there. You do have Jock Landale looking good, but besides that, I think that Jackson's one that stands out the most as a guy that should gain, and at the price tag of 4,100, a little bit too cheap for the guys that are missing for Memphis today. But Landale at 6,400, I mean, he has produced about 1.3 DK points per minute when you take Aldama, Jaren Jackson, John Morant off. But, at 6,400, you are paying the hope that sort of small sample size stuff works out for the better for him over the long term. And it's not a great match on paper for him going against Minnesota. So I'm getting 11% Landale. The field's at 8, but don't think that's a big stand play on today's slate. Cedric Coward, same thing. I've been 16%. The field's at 10. Cam Spencer getting 6. The field's at 8. There's not really any big noteworthy parts of my portfolio today besides getting, again, that good amount of GG Jackson as a value play that I think stands his own relative to a slate where we have a lot of value.
All right, then let's get on because we are closing in on the good stuff. That would be Chicago at Miami here. As you mentioned, the Winter Warriors are getting a little bit of a respite there. In South Beach, no Giddey, no Jalen Smith. Highly unlikely that Vucevic and Kobe White play. On the other side, Hero remains out. Davion Mitchell out with the shoulder issue. And then Norman Powell away from the team for personal reasons. This is the game we're all going to be tuning into because they're carrying some serious rostership here. Down a little bit from low 90s to approaching 90 for Dosunmu, Herter, Buzelis, Patrick Williams. The first three guys, no analysis needed. They should be core plays across every single site. But it gets a little weird once you get to Patrick Williams because he is a very enigmatic soul.
Yeah, not the most exciting player to roster generally, putting up only 0.72 fan sports minute this year is Patrick Williams, but Stokastic right now has him getting 25.4 minutes. He will get minutes largely because of being one of the only big men they have now. They have Lachlan Olbrich there, but he's really been one of the worst fantasy producers at center, and I guess you can make the case one of the worst centers overall in the year only 0.55 DK points per minute for him. He's really just not a guy I think they want to get out there too much, but even then, he's still getting 20.5 minutes of the data. So your assumption is that Patrick Williams probably plays a good amount of 5 then filling in. So I get getting him. I have in 48% of my lineups right now. Fields at 34. Not a stand that I'm going to be proud of today, but at 3,300, I do think that he allows you to do a lot of good stuff here. I would say if you're going to cut bulls off, though, like Patrick Williams, Dalen Terry feel like the two that are the most flimsy, but I'm getting above the field on both because the Bulls are missing so many players at this point that really any bull you get does feel like you're going to want to get, that exposure no matter what. But the Bulls you want to prioritize, the field is going to be there a good amount, but Matas Buzelis Fields at 74%. I'm getting 77. He's been one of those guys that benefits the most with Giddey off. Now you're not only taking Giddey off, you're taking Vucevic off, you're taking Kobe White off, you're taking all these key guys, Jalen Smith off that produce in ways that should lead to Buzelis getting about a 30% usage rate today based on the rates that have been available this year with those guys off the court. Dosunmu as well, getting 33 minutes of Stokastic data, looks really good at 5,400. These guys a little more pricey than Kevin Huerter, but the field's at 87% Dosunmu. I'm getting 83. Just another guy that produces a little bit in every category, does have some scoring upside, but mostly the assists can be there for him. Defensive peripherals can be there for him. So Dosunmu looks good. Kevin Huerter, another guy, has produced a good amount this year. Even when the team's been at full strength, he should get more work overall. He's shot terribly with the other Bulls unavailable. It's not the biggest sample size in the world, but that should be better at some point because Kevin Huerter is really one of your very few your reliable shot getters left in the team. But EMAC, I guess the key thing is I'm up on all these guys for the most part, like a little bit lower on Dosunmu, but getting all these guys in 70, 80% of lineups. Are there any Bulls that you're getting faded in your data right now?
I want to go on the top 3. I'm making some decisions not to play much Williams or Okoro just because they're not overly exciting and they can be really empty. And at some point, you're going to run out. Now, fortunately, Miami plays fast, and both these teams' defense has been in the bottom third of the league over the last 10 games, their defensive efficiency. But at some point, you start to run out of meaningful players. And if okay, great 3 players, but they're not all going to play 48 minutes tonight. And we're looking very deep in the rotation here. And it's harder to count on these guys with arguably, 3 of the top 4 or 3 of the top, let's call it 6 offensive players out tonight for Chicago. So I'm a little nervous about those guys. I'd rather roll the dice on some other spots. But the field is decreased on them as well, which makes them somewhat appealing because this is an intriguing game anyway.
Yeah, and if you're playing cash, I think those guys, the first 3 in, I would say probably first 4, including Patrick Williams, Buzelis, Dosunmu, Huerter. I mean, they're great plays for large field tournaments because the price tags are just low for all of them relative to what the projections look like. But Patrick Williams, I think, in cash would be pretty good as well.
All right. Clean up a couple super chats here, and then we'll let you run with the Miami side. Guys, what do we do about Oubre with George out? We kind of covered that. Oubre is not an overly exciting guy. Man, he has almost as many Remember Me games as anybody else. He's played for 10 teams at this point, and he is far from a spring chicken anymore. Ooh, that was a good power flicker. But I'm not overly excited in him. Mr. Hell, if he's in the lineups, great. If he's not, I would not boost his ROI to get him into lineups. What are Kispert thoughts with Krejci out and Jalen Johnson back in? So Kispert the team actually likes him. Heck, Washington liked him as well. He's an okay shooter. He's like and this is just, so Vic Krejci's way taller than expected. Kispert's almost as tall as Krejci, just remembering from eyeballing it there. Krejci is not your prototypical, off or Caucasian shooter. He can do a bunch of other things, not well, but he can do a lot. Kispert is adequate at rebounding, but he's not good at defense. But he's a excellent 3-point shooter. But he can't create his own shot, so it makes it tough for him. I'd be okay getting him in lineups because he can slot in, and there's enough other creators there that between CJ McCollum, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels, even Jalen Johnson, all those guys are above average passers. So who are they going to go to? Who are they going to swing it to? Kispert. So I'm totally fine with playing him, but I'm not overly excited. It is more helpful for him that Krejci is out, but it's not a must play situation. And we'll get to the cheap centers there in a second. All right, what do you got for us on the Miami side here? 25 minutes until lock.
Yeah, Miami, obviously, when you're going to take out Powell, you're going to take out, some heroes still being out, all that. Davion Mitchell, too. A guy that matters a little bit more for this offense than it might seem because he does create some assist upside with how much he's generally going to be a playmaker for the team. For Miami here, I think it's a good amount of guys coming up. Bam Adebayo, Fields at 29%. Pretty much dead even with that. Hawkins, I'm a little bit lower on. The Field's at 31%. I'm getting 21. Pele Larson, again, another guy looks decent value-wise at 5,200. But on a slate where you have so many cheap guys on the Bulls side of the equation, guys like Larson, I think, get a little bit less mixed in. But getting 5% for the Field for Larson, I got 9. Wiggins not quite getting to as much. I think the projection's a lot lower for me than Stokastic, about 4 points lower. So I have him in 3% of lineups. And Jovic, another guy that benefits from Khalil Ware being shunted down the rotation, some extra minutes to go around. But Jovic projected to get 24 minutes today. I've got him in 15% of my lineups, which is pretty close to the Field. So the Heat, I think, not as compelling of a team as the Bulls. You're just not missing, as many guys that matter. Like Emax had 3 of the top 6 scorers. I think it might be, 4 if you lump in Jalen Smith. Missing so many key guys there that you just have to fill in a meaningful amount of possessions, shots made just to get to the Vegas total. For the Heat, you're missing Hero, you're missing Powell, you're missing Davion Mitchell. These are guys that for the most part have been out. Obviously Powell is a newer one, but you have enough bodies to fill in and produce just enough, I think, that nobody becomes like a smash play. But I think the ceiling's a lot higher for Bam. The ceiling's a lot higher for Hawkes. I just think that's kind of priced into the ownership at this point.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Hawkes is which is funny is he, at the beginning of the month, he was essentially out of the rotation. He didn't play in 4 of the first 9 games, but now he's kind of getting 30 minutes. But we know that Coach Eric Spoelstra can change things on a dime with how things are. I say all that to say I will be playing him in DFS, but I did take unders on his PRA and his R plus a rebounds plus assists today because I was able to get them at positive numbers at Hard Rock for whatever reason, my lone sports book. All right, final game of the night of our 5-game slate. Let's go to the Dallas side here. PJ Washington is back, and he is playing his typical low 30s minutes. You've got Brandon Williams is the scorer off the bench with 0 defense. Daniel Gafford will go to the locker room at least once in the first half. That's just the rules. That's how these things work. Cooper Flagg coming off a phenomenal game. 49 points. I think one of 3 teenagers that hit that number in NBA history. And who was it? Anthony Edwards and LeBron James were the others that got that high. What do you like here from the Dallas side?
The Dallas side, nothing really. I mean, I got Cooper Flagg, I guess, technically above the Field, getting him in 2.5% of lineups. For me, Fields at 1.5. PJ Washington, same thing here, about 2.5%. Fields at 1. But nothing really stands out. The big thing is that total is going to be really low for Dallas today with 106 implied points facing Houston, who is one of the better defenses, not quite in that OKC tier, but about as good as you can get. Them and the Pacers, I would say, right behind that. Not a lot of pace as well. Technically going to be about losing almost 6 possessions here on paper for how slow Houston plays versus how fast Dallas plays. So it's really hard to love anything here. I mean, on a 5-game slate, going somewhere where there's no ownership at all, maybe that is alone the reason to play some of these guys. But just based on the projections, I mean, only Brandon Williams and Max Christie for me project is over a 4.5x value. Everybody else a lot lower than that. But, Flagg will get a lot of shots up. So, or, potentially if they don't trap him and get the ball in his hands. But the total's just not there. And they're honestly at this point, besides no AD, obviously, they're fully stocked at this point with guys being in. Kind of feels like they need to lose a body or 2 at this point in these kind of matchups for the projections to pop at all.
Indeed. All right, let's get Houston, and then if I lose my power, then you've done everything that you could to make the show, Chris. Alperen Sengun, the only one with double-digit popularity. He's around 20%. Salary is increasing, but remember, no Steven Adams. So he has the backup is Clint Capella. There were some good numbers on Clint Capella for over 4.5 rebounds, over 5.5 rebounds at positive money. Throwing that out there, I think KD is always fine. What is your take here on our 10th team of the discussion?
You think Şengün is an interesting tournament play on these kind of slates where you have so much value to go around? And Şengün, I think fairly well represented ownership wise right now, but in general, I feel like on these kind of slates, he's a player that I like making sure I'm getting, at least with the field on. Field's 20%, and I am getting that much, so I'm cool with that exposure. But obviously, you're facing a Dallas team, like Emac mentioned, Gafford always being banged up. But even if he's in, he's not really as effective as he's been in previous years. Still, I think could defend in like a really important kind of playoff situation if you asked him to, but with his health being where it is and the team not being super competitive, really, just don't know that he's kind of guy that's going to keep Şengün from doing some of the best stuff for him. We know he's a triple double threat if things really break his way. So I think he's worth whatever ownership you can get, again, with the field at 20%. Kevin Durant, I'm also holding hands there with the field, 10% for me, 10% for the field as well. I think he's a player that looks less good to me than Şengün, but can score a lot against a Dallas team that I think has pretty competent wing defense, but that doesn't matter for KD if he really sets his mind to it. And really in particular for him, if he does anything besides score points, like him scoring 30 in a game feels like it's happening so frequently lately, but it's like rebounding a little bit more. He's only got an 8% rebound rate. All the other guys on the team have a better one, including everybody besides like Reed Shepherd, basically. He needs to do a little bit more of that or creating assists. Like, I think that's where KD has a true upside at 9K. Like, he needs to score like endless amounts of points or you'll contribute somewhere else. And I think that makes it a little bit tougher. Amin Thompson, I got 9%. The field's at 8. Jabari Smith, I got 5, close to the field. Tari Eason, also about 5, close to the field. Again, not plays that look like you got to get to. You got to really build your whole field kind of composition around. But Şengün, I think, can break a slate, and Durant can as well. But if you told me to choose, I'd choose Şengün.
Agreed. You hit it on Durant and the peripherals. I had recommended a couple times this under on rebounds plus assists. He's incredibly efficient. It's mostly scoring at this point. He's 37 years old. He's playing 34, 35 minutes a night with gusts into the upper 30s as needed. We know what we're getting from him. He will have his moments. He's always going to be a phenomenal scorer, but his DFS, you need to get the right matchup and salary for that to come to fruition here. I'm surprised we didn't get another update. Look at that. Right as I say that, it is all updated. Let's see. Quickly, what has changed here, and then we're going to talk some cheap centers. We've got its top 3 is Chicago. Embiid's up there. Patrick Williams up there. Jaime Jaquez continues to climb. Nothing completely out of the mix there. Someone asked again about Jerome, Ty Jerome. We're keeping him at our 17.3 minutes. I dropped a quote into chat saying that he is going to be on a restricted minutes. The coach said that, and they are not going to deviate from it. There's no need to. So they want to see what they've got with him since this will be his actual debut. If we move over to the FanDuel side, here's where things get interesting. It's still your same top 3 guys, but only Dosunmu is in that 80% range, low 50s for Buzelis, Herter. We start to see some different players in there. Dyson Daniel, Bam Adebayo, Maxey, Siakam. We didn't really mention much about Adebayo, Siakam, or Wiggins. You want to throw any tidbits out on those guys?
Adebayo, I think, is definitely going to be a guy that gains from having the various heat players unavailable. Stokastic has him producing about 1.3 DK points per minute. I'd have him a little bit lower than that, but I think he's worth whatever you're getting. Siakam, I don't see popping up very much for me. I'm rerunning stuff right now with the data update that Stokastic just pushed, but I think Siakam to me still looks like a single-digit own play, and that's much less. I'd say about 1/5 as much as I'm getting Bam Adebayo. And who's the third one that you were talking about?
Siakam. Wiggins.
Siakam and Adebayo, and then I thought you said a third.
Wiggins.
Oh, Wiggins. Wiggins for me not coming up very much. I am low in him projection-wise today. Only have him at 27.3, and Stokastic is at 31.7. But the field's at 16%. So he's not a guy I feel like I need on the slate today, but certainly theoretically has more opportunity from having Hero and Powell out. Just the underlying rates, like he doesn't gain enough usage-wise to pop up in a meaningful way.
All right. One of the chats was asking for cheap centers. So just real quick here, a good way to do that is to go to the data hub here. I'm on FanDuel. We'll look at DraftKings in just a sec. You can sort this a couple different ways. Going by value is always helpful. Nobody's really super cheap. Oh, we didn't mention Mohamed Gay, did we, at all?
No, I mean, he just got announced the starter.
And
So
Coloco got the start the last time, and they ended up with about the same stats and same minutes, if I remember correctly.
yeah, I mean, I think the Stokastic update just now gave him a 19.4 projection. Let me make sure that's the most recent one. Yeah, I only have him at 19. So on this slate where we have like legit so many good values, I don't see the reason to get there. But at 4,100, he is a guy who's starting and will not be as owned as the other value out there. So
Mhm.
I think that's an okay reason to get to him. He's power forward center too, so you don't have to give up just your center spot. I think is a positive. But the projection is not really there. Like Gay really hasn't been that awesome this year, unless you get Jalen Johnson out. And at this point, you might need one of the guards out too for his projections to really kind of come up meaningfully.
Yeah, and I mean, we can kind of, this just happens to be one of the slates where it's not really working out. Daniel Gafford, but he's going to be hard pressed to play more than 22 minutes. Jock Landale, but his price continues to increase. Lachlan Olbrich, I don't even really know who that is. I don't want to play him. I would put him in the same bucket as Patrick Williams. The lowest I would go would be Coloco or Moge on DK. Let's look at DK here. Filter and let's sort by value. Patrick Williams. Oh God, Patrick Williams is a center. Well, there's your answer there. If you're going to do it, go with Patrick Williams. He's at least a proven NBA player. I see he's at 33% ownership, so I'm guessing I'll probably be around 25% for him. Jovic, always interesting. But again, he has risky minutes like most of the Heat rotation. Yeah, this just isn't a cheap center slate, surprisingly.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see the cheap center stuff as much, and Mo Gay to me just doesn't look like a great play on FanDuel as well. People are asking like GG Jackson or Gay. I think it seems like it's GG Jackson across the board. Like I get Gay starting. He's not the most minutes secure, and he has been an awesome producer this year. And you do have Jalen Johnson out there, who is like a total stat vacuum. I just don't see it for Gay today as much.
All righty, well, I'm going to do my quick simulations here. I'm going to run 150 on FanDuel, and then I will put in my DK lineups. I will be doing 50 on DK. We got 12 minutes to go here. Chris, if you want to make sure your lineups are secure and ready to rock, that would be a good time right now. I'm going to talk a little bit in a second here about some of the new tools we have at Stokastic that are free because they're currently in beta mode. So they are available to any subscription. It's our NBA props tool. So we'll go over that in just a second here. I want to see where I'm going to get on my FanDuel lineups, though, coming into the home stretch here. I like to use two uniques. I'm going to put in a 150, and then I like to put some limits on the player ceilings. So, well, the Bulls are going to be the Bulls tonight. So we're going to go 90, 70, 70. That's an awful lot of Jovic. I like him on FanDuel, but we're going to go 40. We'll double the field. Embiid, why not? He is fun to roster. A little bit of Adebayo. Let's put in Maxey at 50, Daniels, and then let's see where this pushes. But now I got to search for guys I'm not excited about that I want to limit their appearances in my lineups. Oh, we didn't mention a lot about TJ McConnell from the other side. He's playing his usual 16 to 18 minutes per game. This is actually one of a better matchup for him, but there's so many better point per dollar values with the Bulls guys. I don't think we need to go there. All right, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to load these guys.
Yeah, I think for McConnell, when you have that team with Mathurin and Nembhard, it's a little bit hard to want to get there because the minutes are never really going to get that high anyway. But at least he can produce a little bit more in his time that he's out there. But yeah, I think he's a pivot to like some of the other value out there. But kind of like Mo Gay, I just don't think the projection's there enough to really make a strong-throated case for it.
Yeah, he would be a guy, and their salaries do not match, but it's like, well, I'd rather roll the dice on him than Patrick Williams, right? I'd rather have a guy who's going to have a tremendous usage for his limited time on the court than a guy who's going to be the fifth option, well, more like the seventh option when he's on the court. So we're saying bad things. I'm saying bad things about Patrick Williams. I congratulate him on his 40 fantasy performance in advance. Let's see. Are you doing the 20 max tonight?
Yeah, doing the 20 max and 10 in the big tournament. So I feel like that's usually enough of a spread for me to feel okay about things. But yeah, I got a lot of Bull stuff up top. I got more Embiid in my final lineups than Maxey, which surprises me a little bit, but you know, I think I'm okay with it. Had to boost Jaime Jaquez to get him close to the field, but everything else is kind of in line with everyone else.
It's kind of weird that we are just not projecting him with any veracity. But again, I think it's the uncertainty that the music can stop and somebody's going to be without a chair for the Heat. We are not that far aside or different than we're plus or minus 5% from everybody else in the industry on him. So this isn't like a Stokastic stand or anything. I just kept looking at it. When you look at his prop market, when you look at everything, he's not coming up as an exciting play. And I thought that would be different tonight given the situation. So, all right, Let me get my DK upload file ready here. We're going to see what pops up with that. Building out 50 on DK. Going with the 2 uniques. Oh, someone was asking me what do you do in our premium chat? What do you do with uniques when you go to late swap? So for late swap, I think Greg doesn't set uniques. He just goes with 1. I usually keep DK at 2 until we get down to less than half the slate left. FanDuel, I keep it 2 until there's about 2 or 3 games left. But that's the difference between doing 150 lineups and 50 lineups. So I don't want to restrict them. But remember, your line, even if you keep it at 2, it's counting all your locked players. So it just spreads out your concentration a little bit. When you start to go into late swap, there are better players. Like if we get unexpected news and it's late swap for, this guy is starting and now we're projecting him for 28 fantasy points and he's $3,400. I want as much of him as I can get. If it's just, all right, the late swap is now taking into account the lineups, if we're chalky guys doing well or poorly, does it need to get you more ROI? How is it going to accomplish that? Is it going to go with low, riskier players, more boom bust players? And the answer is yes. Then you're okay spreading it out. That's just kind of a high level theory. It's all going to be about the ROI, and it's not going to give you bad lineups. Just don't go too crazy on it is my take. Would you have a take on late swap and uniques?
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't play with uniques too much because projections are my way to sort of get the guys where I think I want them to be more so. But I would say for late swapping, I just try to unless you're like swapping on the first game and then you want to keep some flexibility as you go on. But I just want to push my chips in with plays that look better, I think, as we late swap in. So obviously depends if you're doing 150 sets like I talked about yesterday. I think you want to be a little more portfolio, strict on things, be closer to the field in general on players. But I think if you're doing like a 20 max, if you get a player that suddenly looks a lot better, assuming the field is not late swapping enough, I think is generally a better thing. And you try to get to that player more. But I wouldn't change them doing from a pre-lock thing unless the plays look a lot better that you're swapping to.
Yeah. So many ways to skin a cat. Ultimately, what the uniques are doing is it's just like with randomness, right? It's dispersing your player portfolio. In particular, once you get outside of it, for basketball, probably once you get outside of the top 15 people, then it starts giving you 5 and 10% of some of the other guys if you're using like a 3 unique. But play around with it. There's plenty. You don't have to do all this. When money is on the line, you can mess around with this throughout the day and sort of see what happens, because a lot of it's going to be slate by slate dependent.
Yeah. Also, the chat seems desperate for a nuke of the night. So let's see. Emac, this will buy you a couple seconds here. Let's play the clip. We'll do it. I think I'm legally barred from doing nuke of the night after Dennis Schroeder was my nuke of the night last night, and he just wouldn't hit a single shot. But nuke of the night, of course, popular request here. We try to make sure not to steal the bits too much, but if you guys demand it, we'll go to it here. And Emac, I will go first so you can get up all your stuff as best you can. I would say based on my projections right now, a guy that I think is a little bit underrepresented by the field, but is a little bit harder for me to get away from in lineups and will be a lesser owned bull. And I think for you guys out there that feel yucky about Patrick Williams, maybe this guy could be the other cheap bull you get to. But Dalen Terry, only 9% owned by the field. He has been a guy that gains a reasonable uptick in assist rate and in usage, about 20% in both. When you take the various bulls off the court, not the biggest sample size, but seeing any sign of life for a player who's normally just going to be wallpaper out there. But I think for all the bulls, like love Herder, love Buzelis, love Dosunmu, good chalk, all of that, I'm playing it out the wazoo. But I think if you're to try to get unique, I think Dalen Terry stands out as one to try to get unique with.
All right, well, here's mine. You see that? Alperen Şengün, field at 20%. I'm at 40%. Boom.
I like it. I think it's a good one.
And my power is so going to go out here. So let me get this lineup updated and loaded here. And then we'll quickly show we still have 5 minutes. So once I get this set up, then we are in gravy land here.
We're in gravy land? I didn't know there was. I haven't heard of this place called gravy land.
It's like where there's not. It's like the gravy train with biscuit wheels. Does anybody know that movie Kingpin? Do people still know Kingpin, or is that like your age and older?
I know Kingpin, but I don't remember much from it. But I don't remember much about gravy fields either. So
I swear it was Bill Murray saying something about the gravy train with biscuit wheels. Although
I'll believe you. I think your brain works well for a man of your age, Mac. I'll give you that credit. You've not been addled by drugs perhaps as much.
Because we are sponsored by Coca-Cola tonight. Siempre Coca-Cola. Wow. So my here we go. Slowly loading. So this is the beta testing of the props tool here. So regardless of what Stokastic subscription you have access to this right now. What we're doing is we are bringing in both our OddsShopper information. So you can see off to the side here, all the books are represented. We're pitting the books against each other, just like we do with OddsShopper, but we're also incorporating the stochastic projections. Now, we do that to a certain extent on OddsShopper as well, but that's more of the market-based approach. But you can use these sliders to change what you want. So if you want to go 100% market-based approach, you can do that, and you will see that, gee, look at the different wagers changed a lot. There's your Corey Kispert over rebounds 2.5 plus 140 at no vig. That's important because I can play that. You can filter by state here. So I have it set on Florida, but Illinois has most of the books, so we can go over there. And you can then see that Corey Kispert will probably still be up at the top, but they'll have a bunch of other books that are available to you. All you got to do is click bet or click add, and you click add to a bunch of them, and then click bet, and you can push them over, upload these wagers to your side of choice. You still have to go in and enter the wager amount that you want to do, but it makes it super easy. What I like about this, in addition to changing the blend between the stochastic projections, let's go all stochastic projections here, is when we do that, we tend to see a lot more overs, right? Because we're going off our originated projections, and that's a difference because in the market you're going to get tons of unders because that's where the value is. The books know everybody wants to root for positive outcomes. What's the most positive outcomes? Money in your pocket. So that's why you want to bet on unders. But it's not as exciting. Well, it's exciting, but it's not as fun because you're like, damn it, they always go over. No, they don't. That's why the market-based approach is taking the best value. So the books not only juice the higher, make you pay more to get the overs, they tend to push them as much as possible because they know most casuals are going to keep slamming them no matter what. But this is a fun way to do it. You can filter by game. That makes it a lot easier to do same game parlays or pick'em cards on the pick'em sites. And what else do I like here? You can filter by the different, you want to just look at PRA or points plus rebounds or whatever it is, you can get that as well here. So we also have our injury report. I don't know that let's click on it, see what that does. So it's, I think we've got all of our injury information collected, but you can see here it's telling you who is injured, who is not. What you will see off to the side, if someone is out or has a teammate or two that are out, you will see a little yellow designation. There'll be a number inside there. That's how many teammates are potentially questionable or doubtful. And then are these projections accounting for it or not? Because a lot of times in the market-based approaches, they're not accounting for it. but our projections will. So it's all this data that you had. Oh, look here, Jaime Hawk has, and then it has players if they're probable or playing. But this is free, probably going to be free for a couple more weeks. So check that out. Anybody that has any Stokastic subscription has access to that. So this is a lot of fun here to play around with. We've had it live for maybe a week now, but it's good times. Good times. Anything else as we made it to lock? My power stayed on. You're happy. You're gonna go have a celebratory beer because you're drinking water on air. I can't believe you're drinking water on air. Show everybody the water that you're drinking.
I mean, I have a water and a beer, but yeah, it's I like on Fridays and Saturdays.
I thought you had Miller Lite. I was trying to make fun of your beer choices.
Yeah, no, oh, you were saying, I have an actual water though, but yeah,
yes,
I like Miller Lite. I feel like
the joke would have been better if you only had.
What I learned is that a lot of people who are really good at brewing generally think that the best macro brewers are Miller Lite and Coors Banquet. So like, I was like, okay, and I've given them a shot. And like, as somebody that's trying to cut calories, like I love drinking IPAs, but like 300 calories a can is a lot when you are 40. So like, I think that you want to push a little bit more towards stuff that's like giving you the same vibe, but you're not having to go as nuts calorically. So that's been my Miller Lite sacrifice. That's my pro tip, guys. Drink some water, drink some Miller Lights, and you'll be fine. But yeah, I got to get no Alex and Luka this weekend. So I'm hanging out myself. I'll watch some basketball. We'll have
these weekends are the best weekends. This is how Chris pampers himself. Beer, but hydrating so he can have more beer tonight while he watches.
Yeah, and shitty DoorDash too. I'll make them. Though the people that are on DoorDash are working and trying to make money, so I'll support the DoorDash community in these icy conditions if they want to do deliveries. So that's if you're in the Philly area, stay tuned. You're getting one person making a delivery tonight.
All right, Jason has it the best. He wins chat as we exit on out of here. Bud makes you wiser. Truer words have never been spoken. Never been.
Great way to live life.
All right, guys, go follow Chris at Chris Spags on Twitter. Find him on Splash Play, both on YouTube and, as I appreciate, the podcast streets. You can find me at EMAC DFS, and of course, it is Stokastic over there on X. With that game.